This is Tofu Kadai Masala with vegetables, and it's a namesake dish, and it's a very popular and absolutely delicious dish. So the reason it's called Kadai is because it's made in a really thick, heavy-bottomed pan, and that's why it's a namesake dish. So firstly, we're going to start off by making our own Kadai Masala. These are all the spices that you're going to need. Now, if you don't have all of them, take this as your sign to go to your local South Asian store and stock up on some of these dry spices. We're going to be roasting them, and there is nothing quite like making your own spice masala mix, really. It will store up nicely for 6 months, but I would recommend that you use it within 3 because the spices are quite often the freshest at that point, and you can use it for many, many, many different dishes. We're only going to need about 3 to 4 tablespoons of this in our dish today. Add it into any other tofu dish that you like, or in your shepherd's pie, mashed potato with potatoes. It's so good. Stir fry potato. You can even add it into your carrots or carrot soup. It's really, really good. There are no limits to where you can't or can use this. So yeah, go crazy with it. So once you've measured out all of your spices, add them into a big platter. And as I was doing that, I warmed up my kadai, or in my case here, it's a little cast iron pan. Warmed it up so you can see the smoke was coming from it, then turned it right down, added the spices. And the one thing to be really, really careful and cautious not to do is burn any of the spices. Otherwise, it's going to make it really bitter and you can't use it then. So keep on giving it a stir. You're going to know when it's done by the color and the smell. It's going to get more and more fragrant, and your kitchen will smell so delicious. Your mouth will probably start to water. So anyway, we keep on toasting these. As you can see, there was a slight color change. So I had this on the pan going for about 3 to 4 minutes, maybe around the 5-minute mark. And then I turned the heat off because my pan was already quite hot, and the residual heat of that cast iron dish was still continuing to cook the spices. So I let it carry on and basically kept on stirring. So you can see that the cumin and the coriander seeds have taken on the color. Also, I did forget to add in the fennel seeds in the beginning at this point, because I think when I was making this, I was talking too much to myself. So I just made them separately, but obviously you will need to add that in at the beginning when you are measuring everything up together. And what you need to do, which is very important, is to cool all your spices down in a big platter, let them cool down. Then you're going to grind them up in your blender into a fine little powder. So if you do it when the spices are still hot, you're going to end up with the spices kind of all sticking and getting steamy inside the blender, which you really don't want. And this is the fennel seeds that I basically forgot to add in at the beginning. So I had to toast it separately, measure it out separately. So you'll notice that we went from a really vibrant green at the beginning to this toasted brown color. You'll also know by the fragrance that it imparts. So as it's toasting, it will start to release its oil and also the fragrance. So it smells so delicious. And at this point, I took it off the heat, added it to the other spices to cool down. Then I coarsely ground them all together. And that was the mixture that you'll end up with. Right, next up, you're going to need all these vegetables and some of the herbs and spices too. And this is the main part of the dish. And we're going to make a really beautiful sauce from those tomatoes. And the peppers are going to be really nice and crunchy. So there's a lot of different textures here, and it's really, really, really so good. You'll agree with me when you've made this. So you're going to need some onions, garlics, can we say garlics? And chilies too. I made this for a dinner party, so my proportions that I'm showing you are a lot larger, but what I've written out on screen is what you're going to essentially need for 4 to 5 people. And that's it. I've lost a tomato. This is where the kadai part comes in. So the prep for this will be the onion. I'm going to take one of the onions here and I'm going to chop it up really fine. Now we're going to take our ginger and garlic, prep that too, take the skin off, put it through a pestle and mortar, pound it down, beat it, get it all out onto your ginger and garlic. You can obviously put it through a blender, but it's not as much fun, trust me. And then I also sliced up the chilies into tiny, tiny pieces. Next, going in with the peppers here, cored it, took the core out, cut that into little pieces, added it to the paste mixture. And then cut the peppers into what I like to do as call as like stir fry shapes. So they're kind of triangular, too thick, and it's not too thin as well. As you can see, I'm trying to show you. Don't think I've succeeded, but I think you understand what I mean. I did the same with the tomatoes. What I did was I cored out the tomato, cut them into triangle. So the juicy part of the tomato, half of the tomatoes I split up and made into a tomato pulp. So I added this core to that too. Here it is. And then one onion I just quartered up. The other onion is one I did really finely. So this is that magic blender that I've got of mine, which is just a handheld one. Next, we're going to go to a really hot pan. Into your hot pan goes some oil. Then you're going to splatter some, I was going to say mustard seeds, but actually cumin seeds, your whole spices here. Let them splutter, go in straight away with the onions, give them a stir, don't let them catch. Then you're going to, as they've wilted down a little, you're going to add in your paste of garlic and ginger. And if it's catching like mine has, add extra water instead of using extra oil. Little tip there for you. Then you're going to go in with some spices that are powdered up. So turmeric, coriander powder, and the masala that we made, the kadai masala, is going to go in here. You're going to cook that for another 1 to 2 minutes. Let it all come together on low heat so nothing burns. And then I went in with a hell of a lot of chilies. I don't really know why. I was feeling totally spicy that day. And I thought that wasn't enough. So I went in with extra chili powder. So, you know, caution to the wind here. Maybe you don't want to add as much chili. But having the chili powder and the fresh chilies does give it a different dimension, different type of spice. So just reduce the spices down a little bit if you don't want it really, really hot. And then you're going to just keep on giving it a stir. This is on medium heat. And like I said, if you find that it's catching, add a little bit of water. Next, we're going to go in with the mushed up tomatoes. And this was the fresh one that we made. You can use tinned if you'd like, but it's going to not be the same. It's going to be more acidic. Anyway, you're going to put that to a back burner. Keep on stirring it. You want the oil to kind of separate from that tomato onion mixture, and you know that's when it's done. Keep it stirring. Then you're going to take a wok, make sure it's heated up really nicely, add a little bit of oil, throw in the peppers, stir fry them. This is all on high heat, by the way. This is a stir fry element of it, just making sure that nothing is burning on the back. Then I went in with the onions that I quartered up, then the tomatoes that were de-seeded, added the tofu triangles here too. And you're going to just basically do this very gently because you don't want to break up the tofu pieces in the pan. This pan is still on high heat, so everything is cooking on high heat for a very minimal amount of time. Make sure nothing is sticking at the bottom of the pan, so everything is getting a nice even cook. And then I'm going to go in with a kadai masala to flavor up the tofu and the veg, a little bit of salt to go there too. And at this point, I was just making sure at the back the wet mixture of tomato and onions wasn't burning. And you don't see it on camera, but this is where I added that mixture, incorporated it and giving it a little shake so everything is kind of brought together. Cooked it for a further 1 minute and we were done and ready to go. So I took this to my friends that day, so pack this up as you like. Enjoy the fake away, and little update, yes, they did find it extremely hot, but they all had it with a bit of yogurt. I also added the yogurt on top. It was coconut yogurt, added slivers of ginger, which was really nice and zingy, and then also put in some coriander because I mean, this isn't a dish, so we've added coriander at the end. You can add cream, but that's going to make it really thick and not thick, but it's going to make it a really heavy dish. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please let me know. I get really excited when you do. And look forward to hearing from you. And also, if you haven't subscribed, please do so now. Okay, or please do so. Thank you. Bye. Enjoy.